The guy hitting on my girlfriend thought he was the Karate Kid and tried to attack me with the crane kick. But I'm a Muay Thai fighter, and I showed him what reality looks like. I walked into my house and found him there, sweaty, grinning like an idiot, sitting on my couch, with my girlfriend already halfway there. For a few seconds, no one said anything. He even tried to kick me out, claiming he didn't want to hurt me. But then, he did something that changed everything. He struck the classic crane pose, just like in some bad karate movie. That was when I realized, the real show was just about to begin. I'm not usually the type to write about this kind of thing, but honestly, what happened was so absurd that after I calmed down, I couldn't help but see it as some sort of bad joke. Maybe sharing it here is my way of getting it off my chest, or maybe I just want to document how far human stupidity can go. I've been practicing Muay Thai since I was a kid. My uncle, who spent years working in Thailand, taught me everything from scratch. I'm not a professional or anything, but I've been training for over 10 years. In the beginning, we trained in a converted garage. Over time, he opened a small space, nothing fancy, but it's just for us, a tight-knit group. It's not a real gym, but it works. These days, it's my main way of staying in shape. I train 4 to 5 times a week, not competing, but with a lot of discipline. I'm not big on partying or going out. I like routines and value consistency. I know not everyone gets that, but I always figured that whoever did would stick by my side. A few years ago, I started working at a company and adapted well. I made some good friends, and that's where I met Luana. Luana was one of those people who won you over right away, charismatic, friendly, straightforward. She wasn't into playing games, she was the type to say exactly what she thought. We hit it off from the start. After a few months of getting to know each other, we started dating, and everything just flowed naturally. We laughed a lot and understood each other well. I had my training, she had her own life, but we always made time to be together. After almost 2 years of dating, we decided to move in together. She suggested we find a new place, but I already had an apartment, nothing fancy, but comfortable, well located, and fully paid off. In the end, we moved into mine. We had been living together for about 8 months, and aside from the normal little arguments, everything seemed fine. Luana also worked out, but her style was very different from mine. She went to one of those massive, trendy gyms, cardio, spinning, weights, yoga, even CrossFit. In the basement, they also offered some martial arts classes. I wouldn't really call it a dojo, it was more like a mat area where they ran random rotating classes, a little jiu-jitsu, a little taekwondo, some recreational boxing, and according to her, there was even a guy who taught karate. Once, at Luana's insistence, I went to check out the gym. But I didn't like it. They didn't offer Muay Thai, the place was noisy, and it was full of people taking selfies and filming videos for social media. It just wasn't my scene. I thanked her for the invite and went back to training at my uncle's place, no electronic music, no cameras, just real sweat and respect. Our routines were well established, several times a week, each of us would go to our own training sessions, me with my uncle, her at her gym. Saturdays were our most intense training days. I would spend hours helping with classes, and she would be at her gym, which also offered weekend activities. We had an unspoken rule, Sundays were for us. No training, no separate plans. We'd cook together, watch movies, or go for walks. A simple routine, but it was ours. That Saturday started like any other. I left the house around 10 a.m. Luana was still in her pajamas when I left. She usually headed out later, around noon. I kissed her forehead and said I'd be back around 4 p.m., like always. Training that day was pretty smooth. My uncle and I worked with a small group, but around noon, one of the new students badly twisted his ankle during warm-up. My uncle decided to close up early and took him to the hospital, asking me to lock up the place. I finished organizing everything, turned off the lights, and headed out. It was a little after 1 p.m. I didn't text Luana, I figured she'd be at the gym. I was actually thinking of surprising her with lunch. Maybe some pasta, or something simple like we usually made. I pictured us showering, eating, and napping together, just like we love to do. But that Saturday turned out to be anything but normal. When I opened the door to our apartment, I walked straight into a scene that looked like a bad prank. Luana was on the couch, hair tied up, no shirt or bra, wearing only tight sweatpants. She had one leg propped up on the coffee table, like she was stretching. And right next to her, standing there with a totally shocked look on his face, was a guy I had never seen before. He looked like he was in his early 30s, also shirtless, just wearing sports shorts. He was barefoot, with his hands on his hips. The guy looked strong, but it was that kind of bloated muscle, all bulk and no definition. His sweaty chest and a dumb frozen smile on his face when he saw me walk in. No one said anything for a few seconds. I just stood there at the door, staring at him without moving a muscle. Finally, Luana covered herself with her hands, and with a badly acted look of surprise, only made everything worse. "What are you doing here?" she blurted out, as if I was the one in the wrong. I answered without yelling, but with all the anger boiling inside me. "You better tell me what you two are doing here. And who the hell is this guy?" That's when he decided to speak up. He turned around with this air of superiority, puffing out his chest like he was posing for a magazine cover. He looked at me with this I'm in charge expression, although honestly, I had no idea what he thought he was so proud of. "You better get out of here, little man," he said, with a firm but clearly forced voice. "I don't want to have to hurt you. You'll understand later why I'm putting hurt in quotation marks." I looked him up and down. Sure, he was muscular, but the kind of guy who lifts without technique, just bulk, no mobility. I wasn't impressed. Meanwhile, Luana had thrown on a t-shirt and crossed her arms. She said in an authoritative tone, "You better leave. Don't make a scene. I don't want any trouble." That's when I lost my patience. Me? Leave? From the apartment that was mine long before I even met her? "Listen carefully," I said. "I don't even care anymore who this guy is or what you two were doing. The only thing I want is for both of you to get the hell out of my house and never come back." Luana frowned and planted herself like she was the victim. "You can't just kick me out like that. I live here too. What's wrong with you? Are you insane?" At that moment, the other guy took a step forward, trying to intimidate me. "Didn't you hear her?" he said. "She's not leaving. So you better leave before I break your neck." That's when I paused and took a closer look at him. Sure, he had decent muscle mass, but his posture was awful, feet badly positioned, center of gravity way too high. Strong, yeah, but clearly no foundation. Clumsy. Slow. "Get out of my house," I repeated again, calmly. He chuckled. "You have no idea who you're messing with. I'm a black belt in karate. State champion back in 2010. This is your last chance." And as if that wasn't ridiculous enough, Luana decided to chime in too. "Go on, Daniel, kick his ass. Show him he can't treat us like this." And that's when it all clicked. These two were a complete joke. Luana had stooped so low she was now rooting for some random guy to beat me up in my own house. I took a fighting stance. You should never underestimate anyone. No matter how much of a clown they seem, if he had any real training, if he was truly a karate specialist, he could still cause serious damage. I kept my eyes locked on him. He stared back. And then, he did it. This so-called Daniel slowly raised his arms and one leg. He struck the famous crane pose, just like in The Karate Kid, as if he were on a movie set. At that moment, I didn't know whether to laugh or brace for the worst. I had in front of me a sweaty, muscular guy, looking all serious, balancing on one leg in the middle of my living room. I thought, is this really happening? Apparently, he mistook my surprised face for fear, because he leapt and threw the famous crane kick at me. It was pathetic. Slow. Clumsy. I just took a small step back and dodged it effortlessly. In the same instant, as his body lost balance in the air, I took advantage of the momentum and landed a teep, a front kick, followed by a direct knee strike to his stomach, putting my full body weight into it. The hit was clean. I felt the impact the moment my knee slammed hard into his abdomen. The air rushed out of his lungs like a punctured balloon. He collapsed to the ground with a choking groan, curling into a fetal position, coughing, struggling to breathe, tears filling his eyes. I stayed in my guard for another second, just in case. But he wasn't moving. He just clutched his stomach and mumbled something I couldn't even understand. Right then, I knew it was all a front. No black belt. No championships. Just a puffed-up muscle clown with an overinflated ego. He took the hit clean, without any reaction, without any defense. Luana dropped to her knees beside him, screaming that I was crazy, that I had attacked him without reason, that this wasn't going to end here. I didn't answer. I just took a deep breath, walked over, and said, "Pack your stuff. Take your fake karate guy and get the hell out. I never want to see either of you again." She froze. Maybe because it was the first time she had seen me truly serious. The tone of my voice. The firmness. She got up and started gathering her things while I sat on the couch. The guy was still lying there, frozen, his pride completely shattered. We stayed like that for about 15 minutes. No words. Me sitting there, Luana packing up her basics, and Daniel groaning every once in a while. When he finally managed to get up, all crooked, leaning on the arm of the couch, he dragged himself to the door. Luana helped him, and they left together. They didn't say another word. They just left. When the door finally closed, I stayed silent for a few seconds, and then I started laughing. Not out of happiness. It was more like a nervous reaction. It had been a betrayal, yes. But so absurd that any sadness dissolved in the ridiculous spectacle they had just put on for me. The image of Daniel doing the crane pose with a serious face, while Luana clapped like she was watching a movie scene, it was just too much. And the worst part? Me and Luana just standing there in silence, waiting for Daniel to be able to get up so they could leave. Sunday went by without any news. And on Monday, inevitably, we crossed paths at work. Luana gave me a hateful look, like she was the one who had been betrayed. I said nothing. No scenes, no drama. Throughout the day, word got around that we had broken up. I didn't bother explaining. I just didn't care anymore. At the end of the day, when I ran into her in the elevator, she threw a pathetic line at me. "You must be real proud of yourself for attacking Daniel, huh?" I didn't even answer. Just walked out of the elevator and left her talking to herself. I thought that would be the end of it. Chapter closed. But no. Over the next few weeks, Luana made it her mission to spread the story to everyone. Daniel was a specialist, a national champion, gave lessons at his own gym, and was a real man. At me, she'd throw these smug looks, like I had lost something important. But I didn't react. What was the point? The magic was dead. She was just someone I had once shared a roof with. But the funny thing was what started to happen. At the company, and even around the gym, a legend began to form. Daniel, Luana's new boyfriend. The mystical warrior. The karate master. The champion. The man who, according to her, could take down anyone. I stayed out of it. Honestly, I even found it amusing. At what point did anyone believe that guy had anything threatening about him? But of course, a man with a bruised ego is dangerous. And Daniel wasn't going to just let it go. Or maybe it was Luana who pushed him into it. Who knows? One random Saturday, I came home after a good training session. We'd worked a bit on clinch, low kicks, and light sparring. I was feeling that good kind of exhaustion, body drained, mind at peace. I took the elevator up to the 4th floor, like always. When the doors opened, I came face to face with two guys sitting on the stairs in the hallway, right across from the elevator. It felt off. I didn't recognize either of them. They were silent, but clearly waiting for something. Walking past them like nothing was wrong was almost impossible. My mind was already on high alert. I walked to my apartment door, ears tuned to every sound behind me. That's when, from down the hall, Luana appeared. She looked weirdly cheerful, a provocative smile on her face. For a second, her presence threw me off. What was she doing here? And then Daniel showed up. Right away, I understood everything. Seconds later, I heard footsteps behind me. It was an ambush. Daniel stepped forward, adjusting those fingerless gym gloves of his. Playing the part, full on. "We've got unfinished business," he said, in a deep, forced voice. I looked back. The two guys were now flanking me, also wearing gloves. Daniel took a few more steps forward and started this speech like he was in a movie. "You caught me off guard last time. That humiliation, you're going to pay for it. You think you're tough, huh? Well, you're not that tough." "Bro," I interrupted. "If you're gonna attack me, why the whole monologue? You've been watching way too many movies." Luana, from behind, yelled. "Get him, Daniel. Wipe that smirk off his face. Show him not to mess with you." And that's when he came at me. Daniel charged straight in with a punch aimed at my face. I stepped half a step back and in the movement, bumped into one of the guys behind me. The idiot tried to grab me, but by then I was already running on instinct. I turned and landed a hard stomp to his thigh. The guy screamed and collapsed sideways. The second guy reacted right after, but in that gap, I had already turned to face him. I slammed a headbutt right into the center of his nose. Blood gushed instantly. I spun again, looking for Daniel, ready to defend myself. But nothing. He just stood there. Frozen. He hadn't expected this. I charged forward. Didn't give him time to think. Another knee straight to the stomach. Down he went again. Exactly like the first time. Luana was screaming like crazy. "Get up, Daniel. You're pathetic." "On the floor again? Didn't you say you were gonna destroy him?" I was breathing hard, but not from physical exhaustion, it was pure adrenaline. The whole fight didn't even last a minute. And all three of them were on the floor. I grabbed my phone and called the police. Then I called the building's doorman. "There's been an attempted assault here on the 4th floor hallway. Send security up." When they arrived, the three were still on the ground. One with a swollen thigh, another bleeding from the nose, and Daniel. Good old Daniel, back in the fetal position. Luana tried to play innocent. I had nothing to do with this. She just came with the excuse that she wanted to talk. But it was already too late. The hallway cameras had recorded everything. Daniel putting on his gloves, the three of them surrounding me, Luana screaming, and the first move coming from their side. In the following days, I spoke with a lawyer and filed a police report. Daniel's two buddies ended up with criminal records for attempted assault. Since it was their first offense, they got off with minor penalties. Luana, being the great actress she was, claimed she didn't know anything, that it had all been spontaneous. So she walked away untouched. No punishment. But Daniel. He wasn't so lucky. He already had a record, a bar fight and a harassment complaint from an ex. Nothing too serious, but enough to weigh against him in court. With the video, the testimonies, and his record, he was sentenced to a full year in prison. I don't know if he'll serve the entire year, but at least the first few months he'll spend in a place where, if he's not careful, he'll learn some manners the hard way. The scandal was so big that the footage ended up leaking. I'm not sure exactly how, maybe someone forwarded it by accident, or it slipped through someone who had the file. All I know is that, within a few days, everyone at work had already seen the video of the karate champion getting dropped by another knee strike. And Luana? The jokes started almost immediately. Not directly to her face, but the comments in the hallways said it all. Did you see the crane master? That's the karate champion? Luana tried to keep her head high, to act like nothing had happened. But you could tell she was shaken. I figured it was a good moment to tell the truth. The reason our relationship ended, her betrayal, and of course, Daniel's now legendary crane attack. After that, no one took her seriously anymore. A few weeks later, she resigned. HR announced it was for personal reasons. Since then, I've never heard from her again. My life went back to normal. Still training, still working, and enjoying the peace of being on my own. And Daniel? Well, I just hope he doesn't try the crane pose in prison. Because in there, my friend, a demonstration like that might just be his last.
Reddit Relics comment. OP, I've told you 1,000 times, you are the hero this story needed. You kept your cool, acted smart, and walked away with your head held high while they drowned in their own ridiculousness. There's nothing better than seeing justice served, and getting your peace back too. What about you guys? Would you have done anything differently? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next wild Reddit tale. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.